It's my home. They're my
we
people.
We found future Rapsburg. It's Canopus.
It was there the whole time. It just got overtaken by feminists. But you can get your rocks off as many times as you want, wherever you want, so long as there's consent.
Bunch of.
I'm tired. So tired. I've been through enough. Leave me alone.
You dare to refuse my bajol?
And now, recorded in Rapsburg City, Rapsburg, home of the famous Red Light District, it's time for Weekend at Vanny's.
There we go.
Oh, look who's here.
Yes, hello. My goodness, it has been 2 years and 3 months since I've heard your voice last, other than your videos.
Wait, is it really?
Yep.
Oh my goodness, you've really been keeping track this whole time?
No, I am just sharp right now. I'm on a little bit of caffeine to approach this conversation, so...
You smoked cocaine, didn't you?
No, it's still got all 10 kilos under my bed. It's safe. It's safe and sound.
Oh my goodness, I'm about to bleep that out of YouTube now.
No, I have packets of military energy gum that I leave on my desk for special occasions, so...
Such as this, yes?
Yes, all 500 milligrams are coursing through my veins. My heart feels cold.
Oh my goodness, no wonder you're so hyped up for this. So, welcome to Weekend at Vanny's, and this is Barga.
Hello!
Is it okay if we call you Barga?
Please do. There is no better name for me.
I know you hate your real name.
Yes.
So, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to the people, to all the good comrades?
Yeah, sure. Why not? That's a good starting point. So you probably know me for my facsimile on the legendary sagas that Vanny puts out.
Legendary.
I mean, I've seen almost all of them since the start. I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm very proud to be in that, and it's about the only interaction people have with me other than there. Besides that, I am a mechanical designer, a soldier, and a mech enthusiast. I've been doing this kind of stuff for a lot longer than I've known anyone that I know now. But I've only gotten good at it recently, so the challenge called very soon here.
I can only imagine this type of challenge you're stepping up to, because this is actually like the first time I'm talking to like a real like mecha enthusiast, not just like Gundam or Macross or something that's a specific. You like all of them.
Yeah, and it's a wide berth of hobby that I have to have. I mean, and I'm still finding new stuff. Like, you know, I just got into Battletech very recently and discovered there are close cousins to it, not derivatives. One of them being Robotech. I actually managed to pick up an art book of it at a con recently. Another being technically Macross, yes. That's I don't know if we're going to get into the copyright of that. I don't think I should.
It is really weird when it comes to Battletech, Robotech, and Macross. It's a doozy. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just looking into it like, this is a Warhammer. No, it is not. That is stolen as hell.
Exactly. So, were there any other mecha things that you know about besides Battletech and Gundam and all the other normal ones? Is there something completely niche and out there that no one else knows that you do?
It's mostly minor ones. I think my biggest soiree into that, my original one, was actually through Pacific Rim. But I just started picking out little tiny mechs and giant robots throughout my time here. So now, besides Battletech and a bit more of Gundam, thanks to you, I'm going into Metal Gear. I know those are technically not mechs, but they're giant robots and they have interesting properties and
yeah, they're giant robots and they're cool. I mean, why that right there? I feel like that checks the list off.
Now, how a little twink with a laser sword manages to kill half of those, I couldn't tell you, but we're working on that.
Yeah, I still don't understand that one. I know some people put Metal Gears in this big top tier bracket, but if you're beaten by a ground person, I don't know how good you are then.
I mean, infantry has always had questionable effectiveness on mechs. I think Battletech is actually a great example of when there is a good degree of effectiveness, as running a giant robot into a basement is usually the death of it. But no, this is just some jacked up samurai with a bright red sword, and not even that at the start of it. And it's like, yes, I'm going to grab a 40-ton arm and use it to fight off another robot.
It sounds just like, what is it, Kojima? Isn't that the person that does it? I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it sounds something that he would do, so makes sense in his world.
To be fair to all of that, though, you absolutely broke my brain with the original mech we were going to use for the lineup in this. Or Gundam, excuse me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. I was actually wondering if you were going to bring that up because I was prepared for that because I know you're going to try and throw me under the bus.
Well, now, hold on a second. I wasn't going to catch it originally because I was just like, yeah, it's a giant robot. I know they get weird in Gundam, but this seems like a reliable area I can work around. And then I started speaking to the little cabal I have of scientists behind the scene. And they were like, yeah, what are you doing?
My goodness. So for the comrades that don't know, this was me and Barga were talking, saying that, hey, what would happen if a mobile suit were to fight a battle mech, which is the little mobile suits in Battletech. And he came up with the Eris. Is it Eris? Is that how you pronounce it?
The Eris, yes. Specifically the Eris 2N, if anybody's familiar with that series.
So the Eris 2N would go up against it. He said, and I quote, a Gundam, hell, I'll even let you choose. Because I panicked myself into a hole with the first one. Let's see you do better. So then I said, I don't want to make it unfair. Because picking any Gundam makes things complicated. So then that's when you said, Barga, and I quote, I do. I want to see if we can find a better comparison. And for that, we need a serious upgunning. If it outclasses it, it's fine.
You see, and that, I still fully intend that to be the case, because according to things I've studied, it does outclass it in some ways. What I wasn't expecting was to look upon the machine you had given me. Keep in mind, you didn't give me a designation or anything else like that. I just looked up the 2-word name you had for it, which was, what was it? Reborn Gundam.
Reborn's Gundam, yes.
Yes. Yeah, the first Google search for it, and it's like, quantum displacement to predict the future. What the fuck are you spitting at me? No!
God. To be fair, the Reborn's Gundam doesn't do that. That's what 00 does, and I wouldn't have done that to you.
そんな。
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
I tried to go a little bit lower, so I picked the transforming one that has like 7 different beam guns as well as fin funnels. Fin fangs is what it's called for this one. Also has a electromagnetic whip. It has a transforming mode, all these different things. Oh, and it flies.
Right. Well, they all do, yes. So I had 2 people bring up an issue with this, and we're going to talk a little bit about this and then just move on because this is not the point of this video. The first guy is a Gundam aficionado. He's getting into his 40s now, and he's been around for a good portion of it. And he flat out told me that fighting anything beyond like the first 2 televised series is going to be impossible to do with a battle mech. Because as it progresses, the firepower that starts getting introduced, like the Buster beam rifle.
Oh, whoa, we're getting way past there. Yeah, that's okay. So that's from Wing. Wing is a different universe than what we're going to be talking about in Universal Century. But you're right. The Buster rifle is the most ridiculous rifle in almost all of Gundam. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
So he started pointing stuff out like that, like, oh, there's this equipment later on and that equipment later on. You could be contending with any of this. And that's when the regret started to set in. The other one was using some very high-tech stuff in my server. I promise you, it's totally not somebody just shitposting. We tried to recreate what I found to be the Gundam that you sent me in using Battletech's system.
Oh.
And it was physically impossible.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we had no weapon to match it. We couldn't fit the armor class inside of it. We couldn't do it for the tonnage that was requested. There were a million issues. And actually, even with the one we're going to be doing, I had similar issues, but it was way closer to being correct. So, 50-50.
Yeah, I think the one that we ended up settling on is a lot more of a even match But I mean, I did try to convince you. Are you sure you don't want me to pick a different one? You're like, no, it's okay. You know, Steiner forever, Steiner House, we're the Commonwealth. Boo, boo, boo.
I get two things. I get through all my troubles with blind optimism because bullshitting your way out of the problem is way more fun than anything else you can do. Second off, and this is a surprise as I did more research into this. So part of the reason I chose the Eris is because it's just the most advanced mech that I know of. It is Republic of the Sphere era. So it is much later than anything else in the box sets. The model I have is a premium model, and its mission profile is closer to what I could imagine a mobile suit being. It's very mobile. It has decent armaments for what it needs to do, and it's light.
Looking at it right now, it kind of reminds me of a Tau battle suit.
Yeah.
Like, a lot.
So this and the predecessor to this, called the Hell, H-E-L, both look like a Tau battle suit. And that leads me to the other point of this. This is a House Merrick invention.
Oh my, really?
So, yeah, I'm not even doing the Steiner Pride on this one. I can't believe it.
Goodness, you're selling out.
I know, it's just horrible, but I'm horrendously outgunned and in need of mercenaries, so just start dialing on the phone, see who answers.
May as well. Now, real quick, before we get into it, since you're more of an expert than I am only up to like the Succession Wars, and that's it. So go ahead and briefly tell everyone what's Battletech about, what's going on with it, why is there so much fucking lore, what's going on with Battletech.
All right, hang on, I'm gonna get a stretch in for this one.
Oh wait, oh goodness, we're not going for all of it. Just a brief summary.
No, I know. You give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna try to fit into 5 minutes. Okay. Battletech is a attempt by sci-fi writers in the 1980s to create a realistic setting for battle mechs to exist in. It was seen that a lot of other settings had to introduce new materials and elements and things that didn't quite line up with reality in it, and so it was set upon these authors to try and make something that was a little more fleshed out and open to it. What they came up with was Battletech. So, having said that, there are some new things in Battletech, but they do have some real-world approximations. So, for example, the obvious one being the mechs. They're giant walking robots. How the hell did this happen? This leads into some of the philosophy behind it, because a lot of the stuff you see in Battletech, a lot of the history behind it, is based on real-world events. The Ameris coup, the fall of Star League, and Succession Wars, and all the stuff that came after it, kind of mirrors some real stuff. So, in the case of the battle mechs that are in this universe, they are based on a whole bunch of up-and-coming technologies that came around when humanity started to breach out into the stars. Some of it was actually prosthetic equipment. That's where we get our myomer technology from. It is a corded metal that, when it comes into contact with electricity, contracts to, I think it was 10 times smaller than its original size. This is great for prosthetics because natural bioelectricity can operate an arm for you if you get it blown off. It's fantastic. Some of the other ones were things like the introduction of the Neuro Helmet, which is the interface between a battle mech and its pilot. It's this goofy peanut-looking thing you can put on. The later versions are better, but I love the classic versions. That's just, it looks like you fit an urban mech onto your head. It's so terrible.
Are you talking about the giant weird trash can helmet thing?
Yes.
That is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. The ugliest thing.
It's fantastic. And as my unspoken master Tex of the Black Pants Legion has said, he imagines it as when you plug that thing in, there's sparks everywhere in ozone as it wires itself into your brain.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That technology allows the battle mech and anything that has a neural helmet to feed sensor information directly into your mind. So when you plug into one of these things, all the sensor suites and targeting information is in your head. What was the other one? There were advancements in armor, which I don't really want to talk too much about the armor because I'm going to go on forever about like material grainage and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a little too techy.
Yeah, what needs to be known is that it's called, I believe, ablative armor, which means that instead of trying to resist or dissipate force, it's designed to break away. Some exceptions to this are things like hardened armor, and I believe ferrolamellor doesn't do this either. But the philosophy being, okay, you will get hit with weapons, period. It will happen. But when it does happen, instead of it impacting and potentially damaging internal materials, it will instead fall off the damn mech. So a medium laser fires into you, and it melts. Sure, it has visible damage, but nothing underneath was damaged.
That's a good way to put it, because I'll always go into a match in Battletech or Mech Warrior, and I always come out with my armor practically gone. But the way you explained it makes sense.
Well, and part of that leads into the really big guns, like an AC-20 or an autocannon 20, which is, I struggled to find a real approximation to this. I believe the number after AC stands for millimeters times 10. So an AC-20 is actually a 2-meter gun.
Oh my goodness.
It's a big shell, yeah.
That is huge.
I've seen other things relating to fire rate and whatnot, but it's easier for me to just go, no, it's a size of whatever the hell. And actually, that puts me right back to understanding Gundam armor technology. Because it's like, oh, this thing can withstand 90 and 120 efficiently, but when hit with a 200, it didn't withstand. It's like, oh, that makes sense, because an AC-20 will bust anything apart.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
So what about for Battletech's, the world? We get the technical aspect, but what about, what's going on in the galaxy? I usually tell people it's Warhammer 40K without the aliens. Is that about accurate?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You got your own version of the aliens in the form of the clanners, but let's back away from that and take very slow steps forward. So, Earth gets faster than light technology, otherwise known as... it's just called FTL technology, but we also have HPG technology, which is faster than light communication. Both of these combined allowed for rapid expansion out into space, and eventually we marked out this enormous part of the galaxy that we call the inner sphere. This is where most of the bad stuff happens. All the wars and hateful stuff goes on in the sphere. We have a couple of key players. We have the Draconis Combine, otherwise known as House Kurita, which... Yes, indeed, and one of your favorites. They are, put simply, Space Japan. You're going to see a lot of parallels that are like that. Below them, because I guess space has it downwards, you have House Davion, which are a bunch of upstart pricks that represent British royalty. I do not like House Davion.
I don't either.
Yeah. It's hard to like House Davion unless you really, really like House Davion.
They're just the Ultramarines of the universe, the poster boys.
I had made a joke earlier about taking a whole bunch of Davion, not to you, to one of my friends, but to taking a whole bunch of Davion units and painting them in Ultramarine colors, because it's basically exactly the same thing.
May as well. You may as well go for it. You got the money, do it.
Yeah. To the left of Davion space is the Capellan Confederation, or House Liao. It's just communists. It's just full of communists.
Communist China. Chairman Xi Jinping's in space now.
And Mecha Xi Jinping. We loaded him into a Centurion. He's never going to leave.
Oh my goodness. Dreadnought Centurion.
Oh, hell. To the left of that, again, is the Free Worlds League, or House Merrick, which is like the entire middle part of Europe kind of cut out with Russia slapped onto the side of it. And then you gotta figure out World War I politics to get the rest of it down there. In short, they're the purple parakeet that can't get anything done, but they have all the nice stuff anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Then on top of them is House Steiner, or the Lyran Commonwealth, my favorite faction. Like Batman, their superpower is money. They have all the biggest mechs, and they like to show it off. They have no tactics. They have nothing for good generals. And then, for a while, in between the Lyran Commonwealth and the Draconis Combine, there was a region of space that was designated as the Free Rosselhog Republic, which was full of a bunch of very strange individuals that liked things like freedom and free thought, and they were good enough to fight for it. They spoke a combination of, I believe it was, what's the term? It's the same language that current-day Denmark speaks, combined with Japanese. It's a very strange language.
That is super weird. I wonder if there's any audio or something of people talking it.
I'm sure there's a reference somewhere I could find, but that's going to take me a while to figure out. They're gone now. Most people play in the era where they are gone, which I think is a crying shame. Because long time ago, there was another faction called Star League. And they ran the era around Terra and the I think it was like 3 planets out in each direction, that space. They were richer than everyone else. They ran all the banks. They had a unified government, quote unquote, where the other houses were kind of cowing down to them in favor of a unified defense force. This all came crashing down when one of the next successors to Star League, what was his name? Richard Cameron, ended up making a very poor ally by one of the periphery states. Periphery states is anybody outside main sphere, otherwise known as the, what is it? Yeah, just the periphery. Just call them the periphery. Am I allowed to talk about Canopus?
Rasberg. That's pretty much all you have to say. It's my home. They're my people.
We found future Rapsburg. It's Canopus.
It was there the whole time. It just got overtaken by feminists. But you can get your rocks off as many times as you want, wherever you want, so long as there's consent.
Bunch of fucking degenerates. We got those guys over there to the south next to Davion Space. We have the Taurian Concordat, which is just Space Texas. They're very big on that. They love being free of everyone else, and they frequently remind people to get the hell off their lawn. There is the... what is that? Tortuga Dominion in between...
Who the hell are they?
That's in between Canopus and the Taurian Concordat. They're a very small faction, but most of the pirates end up spawning from there.
And I'm drunk for a month. And I don't give a ass rats if I live or die.
Perfect.
Makes sense with Tortuga.
Yeah, I didn't know about it until I ended up painting a catapult in their paint scheme, and somebody pointed out, like, oh, it's from the Tortuga Dominion. What are you talking about? But yeah, they exist. There's one other small one kind of next to House Merrick.
They're the hegemony of Marin, or Marin hegemony, I think, or something?
Yes.
Space Rome.
Like yeah.
The Space Romans.
Yeah, the Space Rome. So anyway, we have the inner sphere, we have the outer sphere in the form of the periphery, and we have the Star League. And this asshole Richard Cameron, he makes an unfortunate ally in the form of Stefan Amaris, who ends up shooting Richard Cameron after gaining his trust, tries to take the throne of the Star League. A very badass general by the name of Alexander Kerensky, not Nicholas Kerensky. Alexander Kerensky takes the entire SLDF on a Hellfire campaign across the whole sphere, kicks Amaris out of the place, and then, in a sign of compassion to not handing over the weapons to the now completely broken sphere and saying duke it out, decides to leave and go to Galactic North, because it has that. They end up sailing way off into space. Nobody finds them. They're several thousand light years out. End up starting their own civilization under Nicholas Kerensky, which turns into the clans. And the clans are the worst thing known to Battletech.
Wait, we're gonna stop it there, because now we don't, now we're getting into areas that I have no idea about, so.
Okay, we'll stop there.
Gotta hold you back now. You are so passionate about Battletech, I love it.
I have learned from the best. Again, I know his name will probably come up several times out of my mouth. Hex Talks Battle Pen. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you want to try that again?
Oh, yes, please. Tex Talks Battletech of the Black Pants Legion. That man has been working with Battletech his entire life in a similar format to my own guy working with Gundam. And he has many great videos on YouTube of the lore, of certain historical events, and certain mechs, and just explaining how it all works. It's an excellent format. He definitely does not know who I am, but I'm still very greatly appreciative of him. But if you go to his playlists, there is the, Tex Talks Battletech playlist, which is 20 videos long. They're all about an hour to 2 hours, so make sure you just turn it on in the background. It's got some excellent visuals, you don't need to see them all. And that will, with his own very sultry voice, get you up to speed on what's going on in the universe. Up to about 3063, which is where people get controversial about playing any further.
Alright, so let's get into this little, I guess you can call it debate, battle, or conversation between a mobile suit and the battle mech. So, do you want to go first and explain a little bit about the Ares, or do you want me to talk a little bit about the G3?
The Ares is going to be longer. Let's go over the G3 first.
Okay, alright. Yeah. So, alright, I picked the G3. Well, originally I said RX-78. But I'm like, you know what? Let's just kick it up a little bit with the G3 instead of the one that everyone knows, RX-78 too, which is the regular Gundam. So, you might be asking yourself, well, what's so special about the G3? So, the G3 is an upgraded version to the Dash 2, which is the original one, because they started seeing that the regular Gundam wasn't doing all of its, like, it wasn't really catching up to speed with the Xeon mobile suits. So they had to use what was called an magnetic coating. It's like some type of a magnetic coating that made its joints like work better. So it was like a lot more nimble, a lot more mobile. And unfortunately, we didn't see the G3 in the show. It shows up in the novel that barely anyone has ever read, and it doesn't even follow the TV show to begin with.
Is this apocryphal? Like, is this only appearing in a very fringe place?
This shows up in one of the manga, but it's not piloted by Amuro.
Okay.
It's piloted by Amuro in the novel, and otherwise you see this in SD Gundam, G Generation, the tactic little game, and other Gundam games as well. But it uses the same armaments as the RX-78-2, which is, the original Grandpa Gundam. And the armaments that it has, you want me to go over every single thing, or what do you want me to do on it?
Go over the standard armaments with this. I know that it has certain things it can attach that are separate, but there's no point in that.
So, it can launch with 2 hyper bazookas, a beam rifle attached to its back. It takes it out, that's where it's like holstered, it has a hard point there. Has a shield, has a 60mm Vulcan head cannon, and that's, there's 2 of them on its forehead, a beam saber on one side, and it can also have a beam dotlet on the other side of its jetpack. And if it wanted to, it could have the comic relief weapon called the Gundam Hammer.
Right, that thing.
Yeah, the ball and chain, swinging a chain. And then on top of that, just like the original Grandpa Gundam, it has a learning computer, the NICN system or something like that. And it's basically a AI, controversial topic nowadays, that learns from every battle it's been in. Now, granted, I don't know how well that'll do against the Ares, since this would be its first time fighting one, but considering it has all of the previous battles that the original Gundam has had, and the prototype Gundam, which we never even talk about in the show also, it has a lot of stuff to go on based off of combat experience.
Right.
So that should pretty much cover it. I wasn't going to break down every single weapon. I mean, you already know how powerful everything beam-related is in Gundam. And how,
yes, definitely.
And how arbitrary that term is, beam. It drives you crazy.
So, good news. In that regard, I have found a similar weapons platform comparison. It's part of the reason I chose the Ares for this competition. That being the PPC, or particle projection cannon. Contrary to my colleague's belief, I'm pretty sure the beam weapons are using a similar principle to this, just in a more refined state. So, PPC is a particle projection cannon. Is a energy projection matrix wrapped in a shell that collects protons or static ions, and then launches them in a big old ball. We perceive this as lightning because that's the closest approximation we have to a weapon like this. I believe in Gundam, the reason I said it's a little more refined is because it's a continuous stream. In Battletech, they have to collect it into one spot and then fire it. This is the limitations of the technology. In Gundam, I believe it can be a continuous push.
Sometimes. It depends. And
yes,
that goes back into what universe are we talking about. The beam rifle in the G3, it's a single shot. Like, it's not like a pulsing, like, constant beam. It's just like a that's it.
Right.
That shot.
Which is actually closer to a PPC anyway, so.
It's very close to it, yeah.
Yes. And so with that in mind, I believe I have created a slight issue because I did a study up on how Luna Titanium works and what it actually provides beneficially to the mech. And its production process, we have a term for it in Battletech. We call it
really?
Endosteel. Yes. Oh my goodness. I love when things match up like this. So, from what I've heard, and you can correct me on this, but from what I've heard and what I've researched, the way lunar titanium, or titanium, is turned into plating, sheeting, whatever it needs to be made into to fit on these things, is it's cast in a zero-gravity environment, and then, it's got some kind of magnetic alignment procedure done to it that creates the shape of the object desired.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Perfect. We do have a facsimile for this inside of Battletech. It's called Endosteel. It's not actually a steel, it's some kind of high-class alloy. I can't find a direct description of what's in the alloy. But similar thing, it's a frame that is cast in zero gravity so that little niches and notches can be better put in without having to create weld weaknesses in the whole process. This also makes it incredibly light, as you're not adding extra material to it when you finish the construction process. There is one small issue with this. Endosteel is used strictly as a structural item. It is designed to resist impacts, it is designed to take continuous load on it at all times. We do not use endosteel for armor, and it's because of the manufacturing process we don't use it for armor. Zero gravity steel doesn't have good crystal grains inside of it. That's in the casting process. Metal doesn't lay out in a smooth, flat sheet. It actually, when it hardens, it crystallizes. You can actually find steel crystals in the structure of that. I don't believe Luna Titanium is as energy resistant as its counterpart on a battle mech. The reason being, the armor on a battle mech is designed to shear under the fire of laser weaponry. From what I've heard about Gundams, they are excellent at taking physical attacks and not so great at energy attacks.
Correct. I think. Well, let me try and think real quick, because Grandpa Gundam gets melted by the Zeong at the end. Very tragic. The Dom, I know, has a 360mm bazooka, and that actually does decent damage to Luna Titanium. So, an AC-20 could, I mean, if you get that lucky shot, you could take it apart. One hit.
Well, my god, an AC-20 will put a dent in anything, and I would like to make the very valid point that if an Atlas walks up to this thing and smacks it across the face, the head's coming off.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely and not going to be doing any punches as far as for the Gundam is concerned. It's not going to be able to punch something.
No, but you have the beam saber, so, you know.
Yeah, we do have the beam saber. But for Endosteel, so it's very similar, it sounds like. The repairs and the expense, is it, like, really expensive, or... Because I know Luna Titanium is super expensive, that's why it's not on everything.
Casting endosteel has been compared to burning money. It is very cost efficient. It saves you a lot of slot points when you're constructing mechs, which is just the critical spaces that are required to fit equipment into besides tonnage. But it costs a lot of money to cast a very thin endosteel frame on even the smaller mechs. It's expensive. I cannot imagine trying to use that process to make plates. This is the part that I don't believe is directly combat related, but any damage done to a weapon platform like the Gundam with a thing like an Eris is automatically a cost value victory. Because there's no way Gundams are cheap. It's just not possible.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way. That's why we were talking about it earlier, that that's different. Like Battletech, it's like cars, like, you know, like cars that you see out in the street. Everyone has this type or this type, no matter where you go. But in Gundam universes, there's like just maybe a handful of Gundams, and they're like the elite of the elite. And it's like, oh shit, it's a Gundam!
It's a Gundam!
It's a Gundam!
Mean! A Gundam!
But everyone else is like in like grunt mobile suits that are either cannon fodder or disrespected, you know, like poor Zaku.
I do remember doing like video research on this, and every time a Gundam shows up, you know, to use one of the ridiculous weapons, everybody's, oh god, it's a Gundam, oh fuck, where'd that come from?
There's a Gundam down here!
That's how it is especially Wing. Wing is guilty of the it's a Gundam trope.
Right.
But Wing has the worst pilots that you'll ever see on a antagonist side. Like they're so bad they have to turn them to AI because they're terrible. Like they can't compete. So
that is misery. Okay.
Super misery.
My point being with all this, the Eris only has two physical, quote-unquote, physical attack weapons, those being the multi-missile launchers in its chest. It's an explosive round. I don't believe it's going to do a whole lot. The PPC, on the other hand, and the small lasers, small X-pulse lasers, embedded inside of this thing, that's a lot of damage. And it's just not going to care about heat because it's got other equipment on it. We'll talk about that in a minute because I want to get into what's usually the saving grace with Gundams, the mobility.
It is, yes. That's why I picked the Reborn's Gundam to begin with, but it's okay. We can still do it with the G3.
Right.
So, I understand about the PPC does scare me, and upon looking it up, it's one of those snub nose ones, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty freaky. That's pretty scary. The missiles, I'm not too concerned about because the Gundam has its shield and it's notorious for just either blocking it with the shield or using its head Vulcans to knock out the missiles in the air.
Right.
The I've never heard of an X-Pulse laser.
So let me click on that really quick so I don't mess this up. But if I recall, an X-Pulse laser is a combination of two technologies. The X laser is just a more powerful version of that laser type, so a small laser but kind of upgunned to a better version at the cost of heat. The pulse part of it doubles down on that. Without going into the science of electrical wavelengths and light conduction and that kind of stuff, which I don't know, not light conduction, whatever. Without going into the deep science of it, pulse lasers fire off a rapid succession of beams instead of a just stream of it, with the intention being the target will harden and will shatter more when it recrystallizes. So
Gotcha.
It fires
Okay.
off the first pulse and it gets like a little bit in there, and then it hardens really quick because the heat dissipates super fast, and then it's another pulse, another pulse, another pulse, another pulse. Like 8 pulses within a second or something, and so it just shreds. These are small variants of this pattern. I don't believe these are particularly good, but they're not even that long range, honestly, but any chance of it getting close in that will sting.
And the small one, so yeah, you have to get real close to it. It's not like an M laser or an L laser. It's the S laser thing.
Yes,
So,
the small ones have a range of 5 hexes, which is... Oh, Lord. Is that 30? I believe that's 150 meters.
okay.
Yeah.
Alright. And, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So, where are the S lasers mounted on the Ares?
Click back on this, because I used the image to figure it out. So it has a head-mounted one, I do remember that. The other two, there's one on each arm. The first one is above the PPC, and the other one is either in the center of the hand or on the outside left side of it. Yeah.
Alright. I think that the Ares would definitely put up quite a bit of a fight. I mean,
Yep.
especially, like I said, the PPC scares me because you're right, it's very similar to a beam rifle. And granted, the Gundam has been known for its mobility, and it does know how to deflect the beam here or there. It depends on how it's, angling a shield and stuff like that. Or it just loses its shield because after one shot, the shield's gone and then it just tosses it. Amuro is notorious for that. So, yeah. Don't get me started. Amuro, I almost said Naruto. Oh my god. Amuro, when he runs out of energy, because the beam rifle only has a certain amount of shots, we'll say 12. Once it's out of juice, that's it. And then he just throws it.
There's 2 interesting things there, because you have a fusion reactor inside of this machine. How are your beam weapons running out of power?
So, the beam rifle operates on what's called an E-cap, which is an energy capacitor type technology, where it has concentrations of megaparticle cannons as ammunition. So it has a certain amount of shots before it depletes. This is like the first instance of a beam rifle. Later versions has a little magazine type thing that you replace the E-cap with, and it's good to go for another round. But back in Universal Century 0079, the 1 Year War, the beam rifles were all like, once you're done, that's it. The gun's no good. That's why sometimes he's like, hey, launch me another beam rifle. And then White Base will shoot out another beam rifle from its catapult, catches it, and he's good to go for the fight. But the beam, like the beam saber and the beam javelin, those are powered by its jetpack. So once it removes it, if it does run out of juice, it puts it back in the jetpack and it recharges it.
Okay. Also, I know that you're talking about some kind of like magnetic sling, but I absolutely imagined an old like medieval catapult flinging the weapon out. Yeah.
Or a little the battle mech, the catapult, just shooting it off from its like 15 LRM.
Yeah. just carrying it on a carpet of LRMs.
15 beam rifles just shooting out of it.
Oh, goodness. So this is majorly concerning. Because I believe that's implying that the Minovsky reactor inside of this cannot actually sustain the weapon. It requires external ammunition. The Ares does not have this issue. No PPCs have this issue.
Yeah, they just use it, whatever the heat generates and then it has to dissipate, yeah.
Yeah, it's the opposite kind of issue, where the power being requested is actually so brutal on the machine that it can overheat and cook its own pilot. That's the reverse issue. We're having a cold mech try to run against a hot mech, that's just in reference to how the engine operates. Is it generating too much heat, or is it just enough to actually keep the thing running? In this case, it appears Gundams are cold mechs, which I have such a hard time believing, considering this damn thing can fly.
Objection!
Pause. The G3 and the regular Grandpa Gundam cannot fly. They can jump really far, they can jump really high, and they can have a little bit of thrust here and there. Cannot sustain its flight.
Okay, and there goes the last advantage it had. I'm not gonna lie, the flight thing had me so concerned. We do have versions of flying battle mechs in Battletech. They're called LAMs. They are transforming battle mechs that are very prototypical. They didn't get off the ground at all, ironically. But they were designed to go from ground-based combat to space combat via transforming into essentially a jet. Outside of that, all they really have is jump jets, which choose a direction and a facing, and that's the two options you get when you move with it. The Ares has another thing added on top of it called a partial wing design. And I'm going to click on it again so I don't mess this up. Very, very basically, the partial wing design was introduced by the clans in 3067, and was part originally of the Land Air Mech design. But instead of following that design philosophy, it just allows the mech to jump farther by making part of it aerodynamic. So here's the thing. Fixed allows the mech to glide additional 60 meters. That's right, that lines up with what I know. So it takes the Ares's jump of, I believe, 5 or 4 and transforms it to 7, going from 150 meter jumps to 210 meter jumps. This does also mean in space, as I've seen this, I cannot find a resource for this. Battle mechs are airtight and can operate in space if they have jump jets.
Wait, so you're saying that the Ares can operate in space?
Yes, the only issue is getting there.
That would be interesting, because everything I see with battle mechs, it's always like ground combat. I would love to see. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure space is Gundam territory, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely. But I would not want to contend with a Gundam in space. Hell no.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. But, I mean, that's pretty cool. So, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Forbidden Gundam universe called Gundam Seed. I'm sure your friend knows all about it, and I'm sure he's a wonderful fan of it.
I have heard more from you about Gundam Seed than I have from anyone else, and it's fantastic every time you enter the little Instagram chat with another rant. Please continue to do so.
Oh my goodness, it's something. But there's if I don't know if you have your little browser handy. If you look up I believe it's called the AILE Strike, AILE Strike Gundam. It has like a little backpack type thing that reminds me of the Ares's little wing design on its back. So I'm wondering if that's very like maybe that works a little bit in a similar fashion.
AILE Strike Gundam. Ooh.
Don't give it too many props. I'm pretty sure the UC fanboys will start going after you.
yeah, I don't know anything about this. It's a cool angular design to this. Unfortunately, no. Hold on, went too far back. There we go. The way that battle mechs do it is very crude because the thrusters can't actually move. So they have to go.
I see. So they're not vectoring. They're just stationary thrusters.
Yep, they have to go from jump to jump very carefully.
Oh, okay. Because the G3's thrusters are vectoring on its jetpack.
Yeah, things like the Ares cannot... Well, within a margin, they can't do that. I believe most things have some kind of minor servo assembly that allows for some correction. This being the explanation why a laser can miss in spite of having a target. Pretty sure the thrusters have to have a small amount of that because they can turn midair to realign the mech's facing, but I don't believe it's enough for continuous space flight. And even though the thrusters run on the mech's reactor, I would not want to make rapid movement commands with a jumping mech in the middle of a void zone. Just no.
So when the Ares jumps, let's say the Ares is in battle right now and it makes a jump, that's using heat from its reactor, right?
Yes.
And then on top of that, if it tries to jump and shoot, that's using a lot more heat, especially with its PPC.
Everything it can do, the smallest amount of movements, I believe even some targeting systems require heat to operate.
Oh my goodness. So that's a huge issue, I think.
Yes. Partial wing design does help a little bit of this. This thing comes with 10 double heat sinks just to start off, which means that it has a cooling of 20. I'm going to go into statistics here, just bear with me for a little bit.
It's okay, go ahead.
Yep, so 10, cooling of 20. The surface area of the partial wing design does give cooling. How much is it? Back to the wiki. Additional 3 heat dissipated per turn just for having it. It doesn't gain anything by jumping with it or anything else like that. With the snub nose, the 3 small X-pulse lasers, it can fire those off without issue. Because the snub nose should be 15 heat, the 3 small... No, it can't. Ooh. So with a jump, which at its maximum range would be 7 hex, so you're only counting for 5. The first 3 are free, but require 3 heat to operate, plus 2 heat per... 7 heat initially to make probably the furthest jump it could. Throwing on the snub-nose PPC, you're already basically at the heat cap before you start having overheat boil over into the next turn.
So what I'm gathering is, like you said, straight line shot jumping the Eris can do. But if it requires to, like, dodge to the left or dodge to the right with a dash, it can't do that.
You're out of luck completely. These later era mechs are known to be more mobile. There is nothing in-game to reflect that, so I'm not going to include those ideas. There are maneuvers like sidestepping, but because of the way combat works, you never really see that come into play. It is just movement points that count for your ability to dodge.
Okay. Alright. Because if you even look at just the regular Zaku, like Char's Zaku, for example, he can literally just dodge a Gundam's beam rifle shot, point stop, like just slight toggle to the left, his Zaku dashes to the left.
Right.
So, the Gundam can do that too. So that PPC is trying to fire on the Gundam is going to dodge it.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, this is the hard play that I'm getting into now. Because on one hand, I can go by the lore of this and say that absolutely the reaction pilots of Mech Warriors is uncomparable to normal humans. It's not.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, they're like trained like at birth basically and stuff like that sometimes. So.
Yep. There are certain people that do that. You can sign on, and you still have to do. I think it's a 6-year training course just to get your skills up to par.
Yeah, rather in a Gundam, you just grab the instruction manual, you read it, and there you go. You can pilot it. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Thank you, Amuro.
Do Gundams have an equivalent to a Neuro helmet? I haven't really looked into that.
So no, not this one that we're talking about. Anyways, I don't think you get into that until you start introducing the Psycho Frame. Because that's where it's more like, it's not necessarily a helmet, but the Psycho Frame surrounds the cockpit, I believe, or something. And this is when you start going into new type bullshit.
Okay.
You know, and stuff like that. Exactly, right? And, I don't think there really is a Neuralink type thing. I mean, someone in the comments, if you know of it, comment it and let me know and correct me, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
So I'm going to mention a very controversial thing that just reminded me of that. Protomechs, which you may eventually get into those. I don't recommend you do. They have a system that is basically a full dive, where the pilot is completely surrounded and almost unconscious while piloting the thing.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, that's a clanner-only thing. I don't like dealing with protomechs. They'll look funny, too.
Yeah, I saw that one that looked like the Rock's Brahma Bull.
If you smell!
Yeah. That's a thing. I don't like those, because they also burn out their pilots in, like, 2 years. It's not from the going in part, it's from the coming back, because supposedly when you go into those, your consciousness gets to expand, and it's really addictive, so you're constantly on this drug. Another mech that has a similar interface uses it as well. It's a neurosuppressant drug, so when you get off there, it's like an antidepressant. You take it, and when you get out, so you don't become crippling depressed and can't go back in.
Sounds like Slanesh made this type of thing.
Yeah, it's horrific, and the whole thing almost got shut down by the clans immediately, and then they were like, hey, we can sell this to the inner Spherites because they are primitive savages, even though we live in a fucking caste system. Back to the matter at hand. Yes, heat is a continuous issue with the Eris. Every battle mech has longevity issues unless it is very, very well balanced, and that is a hard thing to do. Most of them have to sacrifice something. With the concept of this Gundam not having active flight, though, this is becoming a more... I'm almost going to put this in favor of the Eris here soon. I really don't want to, because I do believe the Gundam to be a more advanced machine. I mean, I'm witness to it. But I think the last stage I could really look at this in is either direct speed, non-jump, or melee combat. And in direct speed, the Gundam's just faster. I don't have an equivalent in Battletech for how fast it is. I could not fit a proper-sized engine in the machine I was trying to make a 60-ton machine go that fast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Not only the speed, but even just the running speed itself. I'm pretty sure I think I looked up the Eris, it was about 80-something kilometers per hour. Whereas,
86.
Yeah, and then the Gundam, I believe that runs at 192 kilometers per hour.
Oh my god, yeah, it is hard to make a 20-ton machine in Battletech go that fast. There is a thing that can go that fast, it's called the Fireball. And it has no weapons.
It's like a messenger.
That poor thing and its mission profile. How people are to the urban mech, I am to the Fireball. It is such a spunky little mech, and it has nothing going for it. Alright, so yeah, speed, outright. I can't contend with 20 hex movement. That's unheard of. And there is a measure for 20 hex movement and how much that generates in game for your hit rolls, but that is so fast.
it really is. I mean, now, I know you're leaning towards the Eris. I get it. But, and we all know, some butts are bigger than others.
Oh yeah.
The G3, with its magnetic coating, with its immense speed, I'm not even going to put Amuro in the cockpit, because that would be cheating, and I don't want to do that to you, because we know how ridiculous Amuro is. Pretty sure, despite, let's say if he missed every single beam shot, let's say he shot the hyper bazookas, and he was able to knock down a couple of armor parts, but it's still intact. The beam saber and the beam javelin, those are definitely going to be the killers of the Eris.
Yeah, and I have no contention for that.
Because to my knowledge, most battle mechs will punch. I mean, there's some with melee weapons, but it's mainly a punch or a kick or a tackle.
Yeah, I was willing to try and make up some excuse of a thing, because I know that technically some beam weapons can be deflected, but I got no technology, I got no weapons, I got nothing that can take out one, or even contend with one of those beam sabers. So the Eris's whole thing is going to be just outlasting. If it gets to melee combat, the Eris is done for. Yes, the armor will shear, and it will stand there for a bit, but it will have no valid response to something that is heavier to it, swinging at it with a laser sword.
And the G3 is considered, granted with all of its ranged weapons, it's still considered a close quarters combat mobile suit.
Right.
So it's gonna try and close the distance no matter what. And the PPC, it hits. When it hits, it's gonna hurt. If it hits, anyways. If he gets a lucky shot off, the Gundam could be done in 2, maybe 3 hits.
Right.
But with that immense speed and closing in and being able to dash left and right, the G3's gonna cut that baby in half.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think my final point of contention with any of that is that inner sphere pilots are certifiably mad, and even though that snub-nosed PPC has a minimum range, he will fire it at point blank to try to get a last hit in.
Oh, I'm sure. Even if it kills him, I'm pretty sure he's gonna still try and do it.
He has one hand that still has, finger actuators. He will flip you off while he's doing it.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, how is he gonna do it? It's got 3 little manipulators.
Well, you'll see one go up. That's close enough.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm gonna admit, I really wish the Eris was in the Battletech game that I play, because it is a Really cool mobile suit. It is awesome. Not mobile suit, sorry. Battle mech. It's a battle mech, everyone. It's a really cool battle mech.
It is pretty close to a mobile suit, though. It's just the way the technology works is different.
I could picture it. I really think I could picture, like, if we just put it in a Gundam universe, give it the little Gundam upgrades for, like, modern mobile suits, and this could be a really good grunt.
Yeah.
Paint it red and it'll go 3 times faster.
Yeah. Maybe get a significantly more upgunned engine. Yeah. I got nothing else with this guy. I mean, that was all the fight he could put up is, hey, I'm going to do everything possible to make your life hell with this here gun.
I'm going to annoy that crap out of you. Yeah, I'm going to annoy that crap out of you with this PPC. Even if it kills me and blows me up in my arm, too.
The physical damage of the PPC aside, this is a question I had when I was talking to the other guy earlier. He couldn't give me a solid answer. This version of the Gundam, is it resistant to EMP?
No, it is not, because we see this with Grandpa Gundam. When he goes against the Goof, it gets whipped with the heat rod, and it causes, like, everything to start sparking and electromagnetic shit going on in the cockpit. So it's definitely susceptible to it. It definitely doesn't kill it off, but it definitely is susceptible to it.
You're going to have an issue, a big one then, because a PPC does not need to directly hit to do some EMP. It has to get close.
When you say some EMP, is it going to shut off the Gundam's, like, computer and all that stuff, or is it just going to make everything, like, warbly, like, oh god, what's going on with my controls?
That depends on the durability of the hardware. In MechWarrior 5, I'm sure you've seen, if you get hit by a PPC, your targeting reticle kind of goes funny and it's hard to aim stuff for a bit. In-game, it does a flat-out detriment to targeting. In lore, I've seen various effects. I've heard there's a height difference problem, where if you're in a 20-tonner and you get hit with a PPC, it almost shuts you down completely.
Okay.
For that, it probably won't do direct controls interference, but you could have electronics start to falter, because there is just so much electricity running through the machine.
Oh yeah. So, yeah, that does make sense. I mean, if it is close enough, or if it does manage to hit it, it's definitely going to cause a problem. However, the G3 does have that learning computer, where even during the combat, it's going to learn that. Even if it gets warbled, it's going to learn it. And it is going to help the pilot. It's kind of ridiculous, because it's like you're fighting 2 people at once. The AI and the pilot itself. So, let's say the Eris gets a good hit in with the PPC, knocks out the shield, and the pilot's like, oh god, what the fuck's going on? The computer is going to learn that, and it's going to immediately try to come up with algorithms and shit to come around and counter it.
Right.
I don't think it's going to get a second PPC shot in.
And it probably won't. And this is where the strategy of the battle mech pilot is going to falter. The initial instinct of any pilot is to hit fast and hit hard. So as soon as it comes within range of any of those weapons, they're going to fire off.
Oh yeah.
And that means over time it's going to completely lose its effectiveness. It only has 3 tricks. Well, 4, but it only really has 3 tricks. That being the PPC, the small lasers, and the missiles. Once it's fired all of those, and the computer's learned how to avoid them, or at least how to mitigate it mostly, I don't believe any other part of that's really going to count.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. What's the range on a PPC?
We'll check the snub nose, because I know the snub nose has a weaker range. 150 times 30 meters. 15 times 30 meters. Jackwagon. 300 or 450 meters.
So it's about the same then, for the beam rifle. Just, give or take a couple of meters. Yeah, so it's very similar weapons. I never even thought of a PPC to be like, oh, that's a beam rifle. So now I'm going to go to my Awesome in Battletech, take off all the L lasers, and just mount PPCs on it.
So you've turned the Awesome to a laser boat, and now you're going to turn it back into an Awesome.
Yes, that's exactly it. Because I love beam rifles, and now that I'm picturing PPCs as a beam rifle, there you go. Beam rifle.
Should be noted, and I just noticed this: the PPC, the snub nose variant, has a damage fall off. Huh?
Oh, I mean, I would imagine because it's a snub nose. I would think so.
Yeah. Hold on. Here we got some direct quotes here for you. The Series Arms Thrasher is noted as providing excellent accuracy at 270 meters with a maximum standard engagement range of 405, an optimum range band that makes the Thrasher ideal for urban combat. The Thrasher, I believe, is the variant of PPC that I'm looking at here. There's there's a million different companies in BattleTech. I don't have time.
I don't blame you. Like, Gundam has, like, maybe, I don't know, 6. Like, it's... Well, I should say 6 in, like, Universal Century. You know, big one is Anaheim Electronics. And then I go in Battletech, and I'm seeing, M laser made by so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so. And it just goes on and on and on. I'm like, oh, goodness, how many companies are there?
Right.
It's pretty crazy. But, alright, so I think this will have to be concluded by the comments, I guess. Whatever everyone in the comments thinks, which ones do you think is going to win? Would an Eris from Battletech win? Or would the G3 Gundam, RX-78-3, from Mobile Suit Gundam in the Universal Century, will that end up winning? Someone let us know, because I think we're at a deadlock.
Yes, and I very deeply hope I have upset some Gundam fans today by describing this thing as vaguely competent against one.
You might have. I'm pretty sure there'll be... hopefully maybe someone will come up with like a hate video like, this asshole Barga thinks that this walking toaster can beat a Gundam.
Give me content. I will prove the Urban Mech can kill one of these. I promise you I will.
You know what? Put the Urban Mech up against a gym. Let's see what happens. Just sneaks up on the gym, blows it up. There we go. The end.
Don't sell out your video ideas so fast.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Well, we're gonna have to do this again sometime because this was very fun. Like I said, I never get to talk to people strictly just Mobile Suits, Gundam, Mecha, anything. So this really was a treat for me.
I have loved doing this. Please invite me back onto this. I will talk to no end about these kinds of things.
Maybe next time we can just, do how can we piss off Barga today and show you the wonderful, incredible, amazing Universal Century mobile suit designs that drive you wild.
Oh, please do. I missed... There was a year where we did that. What was that, 2021? Where all you did was send me these fucking cursed-ass designs endlessly, and it was, oh great, I gotta look at another one!
Well, wait, you have Discord up right now, right?
Yes, I do.
Like, it's right in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who I'm gonna send?
Oh, not my son, please.
Look at him!
No, not my son again!
Look at him! He's so wonderful!
I don't need to be reminded of his mom!
Look at him! He's so cute!
God, it is like a pug. Look
at it. Look at a little baby.
Oh, goodness.
Let's not forget whenever he's chilling, he just, does this right here.
I had gone 3 years without seeing this damn thing. Delete the whole recording. It's ruined. It's over. It's done.
Oh boy, yeah, I think we're gonna make this into a thing. A little 15-minute video here and there of how can we piss off Barga today.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Or you could just show me, whatever, the what the fuck battle mech of the day or whatever,
I'll have to hand it to you at some point. I have the PDFs. I don't think I can hand it to you. I have electronic PDFs of a whole bunch of technical manuals on different kinds of mechs and eras. There are some horribly cursed ones and terrible artwork I want to show you.
Oh, awesome. Do you have one handy? Just so we can, get a little sneak peek.
I could find one fast. Where's the... Yeah, the irregulars. There we go. Open. Come on. No, I don't want to see a freaking... That's a Jeep. That is a Jeep Wrangler. I don't need to see that.
Oh my god, the Jeep Wrangler made it to Battletech.
Oh, yes. How do I copy this page?
To screenshot, you press Shift and the Windows key with an S.
Nope, I'm doing this the other way around. Here we go.
What the fuck is that?
The porcupine. What do you? It's right there. The porcupine.
Oh my god, that is so Gundam. Holy shit.
Its whole thing is the usage of the spikes. That's it. It has no ranged weapons. It just runs into shit and dies.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Of all the things. Wow.
This book, what was the name of it again? Caveat Emptor is a collection of horrendously cursed mechs of somebody who's somebody's going through the catalog of all these failed designs. It's like, fuck, I gotta record all this.
You know what? The next video we do, the next one we do, is going to be just sharing 5 what the fuck designs from Battletech, 5 what the fuck designs from Gundam, or whatever mobile suit or anime I can find. We'll stick with Gundam. That's what we'll do. That's what
I
we're
will
going to
bring
do
this
next
guy
time.
back on the first one to
Yes,
see him
yes.
again.
So that way we can really dive into him and wow, what in the world? That is insane.
It's
Wow. That is definitely nightmare fuel. I'm instead of me running down a hallway, nothing's just banging against the hallways, chasing after me, just trying to run into me.
I can imagine, and this is kind of a taboo with Battlemechs, you're not supposed to do somersaults and rolls and that kind of stuff because it damages them, but that thing would absolutely curl into a ball and try to throw itself at you.
Oh my goodness gracious. Wow. Alright, so we already have our next video. Like, that's gonna be a fun one. So,
Yep.
Barga, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really enjoyed this. It was awesome.
Thank you for having me, Vanny.
You're
And,
welcome. Any other final words for the comrades?
Absolutely.
Fucking subscribe!
Oh, yes, please subscribe to me. That'd be awesome.
All right.
Take care, Barga. Thank you again.
You too. Thank you. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Congratulations, you made it to the end. The cringe is over. Unless you want more. Do it. Click those videos in the box. Do it. Do it.